Port Charles is no stranger to secrets, but this one is seismic. Just as Lulu Spencer begins to re-emerge from her coma, with whispers of hope stirring among loved ones, a cataclysmic twist is about to detonate the fabric of her life, and many others. In an explosive storyline that rewrites GH history and promises a wave of heartbreak, confrontations, and revelations, Lulu is harboring a CRI, confidential reproductive implantation, secret. And the fallout? Britt Westbourne is not just connected. It turns out she's the biological mother of both Gio and Rocco. It begins quietly. A dream, a murmur in Lulu's sleep. As Dante sits beside her hospital bed, holding her hand and recounting stories from Rocco's latest soccer game, Lulu's lips tremble. Britt, she breathes. Dante freezes. Britt's name hasn't been mentioned around Lulu in years, not since Britt died in 2022 under tragic and suspicious circumstances. Her murder at the hands of the Hook left the whole town grieving. Or so they thought. Dante brushes it off as neural confusion, but when Lulu repeats the name, this time more urgently, he knows it's not just a dream. There's something she wants to say. Jason Morgan, freshly returned and tangled in Port Charles chaos, is sifting through a cache of encrypted WSB files connected to Victor Cassidy's medical experiments. One folder grabs his attention, CRI 47, Project Mama. Inside are medical reports, embryo charts, and a list of potential surrogates. What startles Jason isn't just Britt's name listed as a contributor, it's the embryos labeled G47 and R87.
Gio
Rocco. Jason takes this discovery to Anna, who recoils at the mention of CRI. She admits the project was classified, a Cassidy-funded rogue operation buried deep within the WSB. It involved illicit IVF, genetic mixing, and, in some cases, implanting embryos without the mother's consent. And Lulu? She was one of the unwitting surrogates. While the world mourned her, Britt Westbourne wasn't dead. She was hiding. Whisked away by Liesl Albrecht in a last-minute rescue plot, Britt was forced to fake her death to escape Victor's control. She spent the last few years recovering from experimental treatments for the disease she believed incurable and searching for the children stolen from her. When Jason tracks her down in a remote Swiss clinic, Britt breaks down. She admits she knew there were embryos, but not that they were used. Not until a mysterious envelope arrived a year ago, containing photos of Gio and Rocco with a simple note. "You made these." Britt has stayed away, believing it was best not to interfere. But now, with Lulu stirring and Jason's information confirming her suspicions, she knows she has no choice. She's going home. The moment the doctors warned could take months or never happen arrives with raw intensity. Lulu awakens. Dante is the first face she sees, and for a brief moment, all seems perfect. But Lulu's first question shatters the illusion. Where are my sons? Where is Britt? Confused and rattled, Dante hesitates. Lulu then drops the bomb. Dante, I remember everything. The procedure. The Cassidines. What they did to me, what they did to us. She recounts the horror of being held in Cassidine custody, sedated, and subjected to experimental implantation. She didn't just carry Rocco, as believed. There was another, an embryo harvested from Britt, and an unknown donor. She gave birth to Gio during a blank period in captivity. Victor had arranged everything. Gio had been spirited away, only to appear years later as Gio Santiago, adopted by a surrogate agent embedded in Sonny's old crew. And now, Dante sees the truth. Both of his sons are not biologically Lulu's. One she carried unknowingly. The other was stolen entirely. Word spreads fast in Port Charles, and soon everyone is buzzing. Maxie and Brooklyn confront Britt at the Metro Court pool, and the reunion is emotional. Liesl emerges from the shadows, admitting she orchestrated Britt's disappearance for her protection. But Dante? He demands answers. And Lulu, emotionally wrecked but resolute, demands Britt explain why she never fought for her children. Britt, in tears, confesses, I didn't know. I knew my eggs were harvested under Victor's manipulation, but I thought it was over. When I found out, I didn't know how to come back. Gio was already Sonny's. Rocco had your name. I had nothing. I thought I'd destroy them by being in their lives. Lulu slaps her. You didn't get to decide that. But Britt fires back. And neither did you. You carried Gio and never told anyone. The tension explodes into a war of grief, guilt, and blame. Liesl intervenes before things spiral further, revealing that there's another layer yet to be uncovered. Victor may have forged Gio and Rocco's entire origin stories. The donor DNA might be far more dangerous. Gio has always been Sunny's mysterious protege, smart, loyal, quiet. But when Britt shows him a birthmark on his back that matches her own and gives him the medallion she was gifted as a child, something in Gio breaks. He's not just some orphan. He's Britt Westbourne's son. And Rocco, the boy he's long treated as a rival in soccer and life, is his brother. Gio runs. He ends up at Ava's gallery, breaking down in front of her. Ava calls Trina, and together they try to reach him. But Gio is spiraling, questioning everything, his loyalties, his identity, and whether he was ever real to Sunny at all. Rocco overhears Lulu and Dante arguing and confronts them directly. Am I even yours? Lulu's sobs say it all. Rocco flees to the Quartermain estate, where Brooklyn tries to console him, but the truth is unavoidable. His entire life is a lie. He wasn't born of love. He was a pawn in a Cassadine experiment. But Laura, strong and steady, steps in. She sits with Rocco at Kelly's and reminds him, family isn't about biology. It's about love. And no one loves you more than your mother, even if she didn't know you weren't hers. Still, Rocco makes a decision that rocks Dante. He wants to move in with Kevin and Laura for a while. He needs space. As Anna and Jason dig deeper, they uncover something chilling. Victor didn't just use Britt's eggs. He used sperm from a man known only as Subject X, a genetically engineered soldier designed for obedience and aggression. Subject X's DNA was split between two embryos, Gio and Rocco. Both boys were bred for something. Britt is horrified. She demands to see the files and recognizes markers of Huntington's, a disease that plagued her past. She fears she may have passed something on to her sons. Tests begin. Gio and Rocco are tested. One is clear, but the other isn't. Gio tests positive for early-onset Huntington's markers. Britt throws herself into medical research, seeking ways to slow or reverse the progression of Joe's condition. Liesl returns to GH to help. The hospital grants Britt temporary reinstatement, and she begins working around the clock to save her son. Meanwhile, Gio refuses to speak to Britt, blaming her for the curse. But when he collapses during a sparring session with Dex, it's Britt who stabilizes him. Slowly, their bond begins to heal. Rocco, now aware that Joe's suffering is genetic, reaches out and tries to connect. The two brothers begin training together, working through their trauma the only way they know how, through movement, discipline, and loyalty. Lulu and Britt sit down at the old Spencer house, a truce in the making. Lulu confesses she never stopped hating herself for being part of CRI, even unknowingly. Britt apologizes for staying away. They both cry. There's no manual for this, Britt says. But I want to be their mother. However they'll let me. They already have a mother, Lulu says softly. But maybe they can have two. In the final moments of this arc, Gio, Rocco, Lulu, and Britt meet at the park where Dante first taught Rocco to ride a bike. It's awkward, tender, and raw. Gio hands Britt the medallion. I want you to have this. Rocco looks at Lulu and says, she's not replacing you, but I think I need her too. Lulu nods. I know. As the sun sets over Port Charles, the four of them walk forward together. Not whole, not healed, but together. A new family forged from lies, science, loss, and unbreakable love. Will Joe's condition deteriorate beyond repair? Could Britt and Jason rekindle their love as they co-parent her children? What will Sunny do when he learns Victor used his network to hide Joe's identity? And what happens when CRI files reveal another embryo, still unaccounted for?